What is up, Tames Nation? We are back with another Go Battle League banger. Welcome to another video, guys. I was asked to say that on chat yesterday, so there is the different intro. But yeah, welcome back to another video. Today we had a league rotation, and it is safe to say that there is some really funny picks in this league. We are actually checking out an old meta Titan, so I had a little bit of a feeling that we weren't going to see too much RPS stuff, but I was checking out some other people's streams and such, and I found out that apparently Carbink Torterra is a core that a lot of people are kind of abusing in the backline, right? So I wanted to build something that wasn't super weak to it, and we could still have a lot of fun with. And I brought this. We are using non-shadow Alolan Sandslash. I'm using it with Shadow Claw just so I can have a little bit of fast move pressure against the water types or the fortresses, because there is a lot of fortresses. So keep that in mind for this video. For Alligator in the safe swap is probably one of, if not the safest safe swap in this meta at the moment. There could be some crazy grass types that start showing up here and there, but at least on day one we saw a lot of Clodsire, a lot of Carbink. So for Alligator was really strong back there. And of course we have Diggersby in the back. I love Diggersby just because it's a ground type that can fight back against the grass types or the flying types, with Fire Punch and Quick Attack being neutral. So yeah, that's why I like Diggersby a lot. We did see one Pelipper today, which is its worst nightmare, but thankfully we didn't see it on Diggersby. Regardless, let's get into these battles. Let's start checking out how this team did, and maybe you guys can replicate this. Honestly, I feel like Alolan Sandslash is a really, really strong pick for this meta. So in the beginning, we were actually running for Alligator lead, and Sandslash in the back, kind of like an ABB to fighting line. But the team just wasn't working as much as I was hoping for. We are actually fighting against Arrow in this game, which is a very, very strong battler. I mean, he's been a regional finalist quite a few times here. He is running Torterra in the lead, and I am guessing there's going to be a Carbink somewhere in this team. So I do want to keep my Diggersby alive. I want to keep it around. He actually baits with a Sand Tomb again, so very interesting play. I guess it did work out. It took my shield. But they do have a Drapion in the back, and this team seems like it might be a little bit too weak to Diggersby. We're going to make an Aquatail catch here right before we get to the Scorching Sands. You just kind of have to learn how to read these really good players. And yeah, lo and behold, it is Carbink in the back. So we have a pretty decent matchup here. Yeah, I guess my opponent is not trying to play that one out. The drill runs are just about going to two-shot after fast move pressure, so pretty decent for us there. Another lead with the old team. My opponent has a Ducksnore in the lead. They bring in Ferret afterwards. I'm just going to chip and dip, bring in my Alolan Sandslash. I know I can tank a few moves here, but the fast move pressure is really going to add up. So I kind of want to be a little bit low, just low enough to throw out a move, but not too low that I'll just get farmed down in one or two. So I will farm up a little bit, almost to the back-to-back drill runs here. This should be finally able to knock out the Ferret, and my opponent brings in a Fortress. I was a little bit distracted here. I should have really over-farmed there and thrown the drill run at least. I don't know why I just kind of brain off and brought that. My opponent makes a weird play. They actually Sand Tomb and dip. Which I don't know. I guess it makes sense since a Dynamic Punch would have knocked me out beforehand. But to be fair, I'm still going to be shielding these Dynamic Punches, right? Diggersby is still my best case scenario in taking out that Fortress. So I am going to bank almost 2 Fire Punches on the Diggersby, bring in my Alligator. My opponent brings in Fortress, which is a really good play. I guess I could have thrown on alignment against the Dusknoir, but can't really risk that. I bring in my Sandslash here, and unfortunately I can't get to the move. And look at the HP on this Fortress. If I threw the drill run earlier, we would have been in such a dominant position here. Regardless though, we do have 100 energy, and this Dusknoir does not have the energy it needs to outpace us to the 2 nuke moves they need. So this is going to be a GG, but I definitely played this a little bit suboptimally. I could have played this a lot better and win the game a lot more comfortably. But regardless, it is going to be a win for us, and we are off to the next game here. All right, in the next lead, we're finally switching up our lead. We're leading Sandslash now, and we see a superior lead. Really decent lead. My opponent brings in Galarian Stunfisk. The Unovan Stunfisk is banned in this meta, so a lot of cool Pokemon that are banned, which makes this meta a little bit more fun, or at least refreshing. So yeah, we have a pretty hard answer to this with Diggersby. You guys know I love Diggersby. I put Diggersby literally everywhere I can fit it. I'm just gonna take this thing right out. I know Serperior probably doesn't want to take 2 fire punches, so they are gonna be forced to throw energy, whether they like it or not, and they are gonna throw right before we get to our second fire punch here. So very good counting by my opponent there. They do have to Frenzy Plant. I don't think Aerial Ace would have cut it there. And Sandslash can tank all of these moves regardless. So I'm just going to overfarm here. I doubt my opponent wants to shield this because they're just dealing resistive damage, so it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, what do you know? It's a Gliscor in the back. And at this point, I'm realizing I can get to another Ice Punch with my Sandslash. I don't think a Night Slash will cut it here. And if they're on Aerial Ace, it's going to be even worse for them. They are on Aerial Ace, so that's not going to cut it, unfortunately. So we will be able to force a second shield, bring in for Alligator, and that's just going to be a good game. So yeah, GG's to my opponent there. Very interesting pick. I like Gliscor. All right, terrifying lead in the next match. This team is extremely weak to Greninja. Greninja is an absolute pain to deal with. I don't think I can afford baiting here. I have no fast move pressure, and that was definitely the right call. I'm going to bring in my Gator here, and I make a little bit of a misplay. Greninja's energy is absolutely ridiculous. The energy generation on this Pokemon is so stupid that I severely miscount. My opponent keeps throwing on alignment, which I guess is baiting me into like trying for a farm down, but I just can't get that farm down. Greninja just gets Night Slashes on 6 turns most of the time, which is absolutely ridiculous and shouldn't be allowed, but it is. And my opponent has some Macargo in the back, so it's very scary. I'm going to bank this Hydro Cannon, bring in my Diggersby here. My opponent does throw on alignment, which gives me a quick attack there. And for some reason here, they actually don't throw their second overheat. Maybe I'm miscounting here, but I believe they should have had an overheat here. But regardless, we are able to outpace here to the second Scorching Sands, fully one-shot that Macargo, and this Florges in the back line is not going to have enough play into us, unfortunately for them. We still have that Hydro Cannon, and we have a full HP Sandslash, so that's going to be a GG. All right, tricky lead in the next match. We got Nidoqueen on Mud Slap. Very scary. I'm going to stay in, throw a Ice Punch here, and then I'm just going to catch a move on my Diggersby here. This is always going to be a Poison Fang bait. Nidoqueens, they're never going to nuke. They are very cowardly. And my opponent brings in a Feraligatr, but this is a Shadow Feraligatr, so I can still tank this Hydro Cannon even after that debuff. And this Scorching Sands is going to do quite a lot of damage into them. So I don't mind this. They are pretty low on their resources already. 2 of their Pokemon are pretty hit, and they are down shields. So I know my Feraligatr can come in here and fully farm this thing down. Nidoqueen comes in, they throw on alignment. We know this is going to be a Poison Fang, so I can do 1 in the move and then swap into my Ace Slash. We do have quite a bit of energy on Ace Slash, so I just don't want to take a lot of Mud Slap pressure on my Feraligatr since it's kind of like my only Pokemon left. My opponent brings in their Feraligatr, but we actually farm them down before they can. And yeah, it's just going to be a Tinkaton in the back. Thankfully for us, this Drill Run is going to put them easily into Hydro Cannon range, and we will be able to take this game. But yeah, very tricky mid game there with the Feraligatr safe swap. It's definitely a scary Pokemon for us to deal with for sure. On to the next battle here, we got a Clodsire lead. Honestly, very decent for us, but my opponent brings in, again, Feraligatr safe swap. I feel like non-shadow is definitely the move. Most of the things that you're going to hit with Hydro Cannon, you are going to be able to 2-shot regardless and tank quite a few moves. And using Shadow Feraligatr as a safe swap, I don't love, just because you have to give it a lot more resources than you would the non-shadow. So yeah, I guess there's my little opinion there. I bring in my Feraligatr and my opponent tries to play to the Captai, but if you look at my IVs, I'm actually running a 4 attack Feraligatr. And that's another little tip I'd like to give you guys. If you are running Feraligatr on the safe swap, I definitely run one with a higher attack stat, just because you are going to see a lot of Feraligatr in this meta. And if you can win a Captai, that is very good. I'm going to bank a move on my Feraligatr. I did bank a Hydro Cannon, which is pretty good. But we can still also use it as a catch. There is a Greninja in the back though, and this is a little bit scary. Thankfully shields are down, but this Greninja has to overfarm so much energy so it can take out all of my Pokemon, and it's just not going to be able to do that before we get the Fire Punch. So that's going to be a GG. My opponent is playing it out, so if they want to play it out, that's totally fine by me. I can just outpace with my Sand Slash, but yeah, that's going to be a good game there. We actually 3-ball flex this game, so that's pretty cool. On to the next battle here. We got Sand Slash into Wigglytuff. Pretty good lead, but they always have something kind of polarizing in the back. As you can see, they bring in a Drift Blimp. So I am going to just throw this Ice Punch right away, force a shield, bring in my own Gator here. My opponent makes a really stupid play here. They actually bait, which honestly is very risky when you're already down shields. Because if I no shield this thing, you're just going to get completely cooked. But very well, that's totally fine by me. I can just overfarm severely with my Feraligatr, and I'm sure this Wigglytuff is not going to want to take 2 Hydro Cannons, so I'm either going to force energy or almost a knockout into them. It looks like we are forcing energy here, which is, again, totally fine. We have a little bit of residual energy on A-Slash, and it's their own Diggersby in the back, so I can easily chip and dip here. If I get the shield, cool. If I land the damage, even better. I mean, this is just game over at this point. This Diggersby is almost at half HP, and ours is obviously not, since we didn't take an Ice Punch, so we are in a very good spot here. I do want to be a little bit careful about a catch here. We did misalign the switch clock a little bit, so I will just overfarm here. I do have to throw a move before they can get to the Icy Wind there, and we're actually able to catch right there. We catch the Swift, which is pretty decent, but yeah, it was kind of forced to throw energy on Diggersby there to burn the clock, but it all worked out pretty well there, so that's gonna be a GG. All right, very tricky lead in the next match. Non-Shadow Feraligatr lead, very bad for us. Thankfully, we are the non-Shadow A-Slash as well, so we can easily survive a Hydro Cannon here. We're still in the yellow, so that's pretty decent. If they shield this, I'm just going to bring in my own Gator, and I'm going to full send right away. If they catch or not, it doesn't really matter. There are very few things that you would throw an Ice Beam to that you wouldn't throw a Hydro Cannon to, so that is totally fine by me. They catch on a Pokemon that I have to throw a Hydro into, and we actually overfarm by 7 and knock out with the second Hydro. My opponent maybe thought they could survive there, but they can't. They bring in their own Gator, and they play to the Captai, so they know they can win it, but my Gator barely survives, so we can get off this damage very comfortably. And yeah, just bring in our A-Slash here. At this point, I'm just putting it all on Diggersby. We just bring in A-Slash to burn some energy, and I'm just hoping it's not a flyer in the back. So I'm going to bring in Diggersby, have a little bit of an energy advantage, and what do you know, it's Steelix in the back. I do not know how people are coming up with these teams, man, but GG's. All right, very tricky opponent in the next match, Ace Jinxie PvP. Very good battler. This guy is very consistent legend here, and as you can see, they're actually experts, so crazy up pairs that we're getting. We see Quagsire in the lead, which is an absolute nightmare for us. I do one Shadow Claw with A-Slash and swap into my Gator just so that I can still outpace before they get the Stone Edge. My opponent brings in a Galarian Moltres, and oh my god, this is so frustrating. I really wish I maybe kept Powder Snow on my A-Slash. I feel like it might have been pretty useful here. I actually catch a move on my Diggersby, and I was so sad that it was going to be an Aqua Tail, but it was actually a Stone Edge. I don't know why Jinxie threw a Stone Edge there, to be honest. I feel like Aqua Tail would have been pretty overkill already, but I will totally take it. I'm going to throw my Fire Punch here right before they get to their next Aqua Tail, and my opponent will let that go. And then they have a Charizard in the back, so this game is very winnable, but I have to call a bait or shield a nuke. And as you can already guess, we are not going to shield the nuke here. Very unfortunately for us, we shield the Air Cutter bait. We try to catch a move. Jinxie swaps out at the same time, and this is just pretty much game over, unfortunately. Maybe if I committed to the fast moves, we would have been in a better spot. Just not shield my Diggersby, put it all on A-Slash. But the fact that they were on Ember and not Dragon Breath kind of cooked my chances of winning that game. But very good game to them as well. All right, we got Shadow Dusknoir in the lead on the next match, and I always throw the Ice Punch here. I never feel like Drill Run is going to do that much more damage regardless. Maybe I should investigate a little bit more into these matchups, but I can always just bring in Gator here, tank a move regardless of if it's a DP or a Shadow Punch. We're always going to get to a Hydro Cannon into whatever comes in, and if it is a Fortress, we can actually get to 2. So we force energy here, which is really decent. And now I'm guessing I'll probably just bring back in the A-Slash, overfarm a little bit. I'm gonna full send the drill run here because we know Ice Punch doesn't do much here, and I'm a little bit too scared to take a move. My opponent actually brings in Dugong, which is insanely good for me. Maybe I have a not very readable team comp, but if they read that Dugong would be stronger in the back than into a freaking A-Slash, then I guess that's a pretty good thing for me. My opponent brings in the Dusknoir, so we're just going to bring in the Diggersby. I'm going to shield these because I seriously don't want to take a Dynamic Punch. I feel like I have to keep some HP for that Dugong so I can kind of, you know, willow it down a little bit. And I will be shielding this again. I don't really want to over farm too much here because I know this Dusknoir had a lot of residual energy from the Gator matchup, and I haven't been keeping track. So if I just keep all of my health bar here, I can easily just go for the Scorching Sands, get a lot of chip damage into this Dugong, and I mean, that's just going to be a GG. We're going to go for the BM Ice Punch combo play here. And yeah, very good game to my opponent there. On to the next battle here. We got Sandslash into Avalugg. I can't say Avalugg is a decent Pokemon in this meta. Honestly, I don't think it's terrible, but I have seen a lot of steals and waters, so Avalugg just kind of feels like trapped. My opponent swaps into a Shadow Fortress, and this is a pretty decent matchup for Diggersby. Honestly, the Bug Bites are going to be shredding through us. As you can see, our health bar does not look very tanky, unfortunately. But yeah, Shadow Fortress goes crazy. I can easily just go for these double fire punches here, and I guess I'm gonna force both shields for my opponent, which is very, very weird to me. They bring in the Avalugg, they try to knock us out, but we can still save the Diggersby here, and we just make sure to overfarm quite a bit here. I do know that this thing can learn Crunch or Earthquake or something like that, so I don't really want to have to shield if I don't have to. I want my shields for this fortress. This Rock Tomb is going to be pretty tricky for us to deal with because this debuff is going to make it so this drill run doesn't knock out, and I also can't get the farm down here. And I have a decision to make. Do I want to save my A-Slash or not? This fortress is actually on Mirror Shot, which I don't think is a play. They bring in Torterra. They get almost one shot by a debuffed Ice Punch. And yeah, that's going to be a very good game. Holy moly. A lot of people triple weak to A-Slash in this meta. So yeah, I definitely recommend this Pokemon. Maybe Powder Snow could be a better play. But you have to be pretty strong in a Gator if you're running Powder Snow. Alright, we see another Wigglytuff lead. Very, very crazy. My opponent's actually staying in, and I know my A-Slash can be more useful here, but Wigglytuff is pretty rough on my backline still, so I kind of have to waste my A-Slash here. I'm actually going to shield this move. I'm predicting that they don't want to shield their Wigglytuff at this point, so I'm just going to get to the back-to-back and throw. And for some reason, my opponent shields this move and then Cap ties me. Very, very weird play style by them, not gonna lie. So we force switch, we get even shields, and that makes this a little bit tricky. Gligar comes in, and you could argue that I should have just brought in my Feraligatr immediately, but I guess I didn't think fast enough, so giving them this small energy lead is gonna be a little bit tricky. We can go for these fire punches though, and 2 fire punches plus the quick attacks should put them almost into farm down range for our Feraligatr. So as soon as I land this fire punch, I'm just going to bring in my Gator right away, and we'll see what's in the back. We bring in Gator, we get 2 Shadow Claws head start, and it's a Clodsire in the back, so very, very good for us. Honestly, we are kind of triple weak into Clodsire regardless, so I'm not really worried here. This is non-Shadow Gator, so I can tank an Earthquake really easily and still get to the 3 Hydro Cannons I need against this thing. So that was my win con, to just no shield whatever came in. Because shielding a Bay and then taking a nuke would have been pretty bad for us. But yeah, we are able to get that. We're able to farm down the Gligar after it takes a few Shadow Claws, and that's a good game. On to the next battle. A little cheeky, another amazing battler, but unfortunately, it looks like they were really weak to A-Slash. Pidgeot does not want to see A-Slash at all, so I will totally take that. Thank you, Jinxie. Alright, on to the next battle. Like I said, we see Pelipper in the lead. Very, very tricky Pokemon. Honestly, this thing is way more of an old meta Titan than Sandslash ever was. Pelipper used to be the absolute GOAT, the water flyer. They bring in a Magnezone, and we have the perfect response to this Pokemon. Diggersby is just going to wall this thing. Mirror Shot is really not going to do much. I do think you should go for Wild Charge. at some point in this game, because Wild Charge will do a little more damage than Mirror Shot, but my opponent just wants to go for the Mirror Shot. The attack debuff is honestly better for us because we get more quick attacks. And I know Pelipper fully walls our moveset, but it's still not going to love taking all these fire punches. So I'm going to throw both of these, over farm a little bit, maybe catch on my Feraligatr, which we do. So we are catching a Weather Ball here, which is pretty good. We should be able to farm that Pelipper before they get to another move, and it's a Tinkaton in the back. So yeah, that's going to be a GG's to them. On to the next battle here, we got Dusknoir in the lead. And honestly, this is pretty decent. This is where we kind of want Shadow Claw, right? I did see a few Jellicents and Dusknoirs and Dugongs, so like I said, it's a bit of a toss-up whether you want Powder Snow or not. We are able to catch a Shadow Punch here, and again, non-Shadow into non-Shadow is absolutely perfect. My opponent brings in Steelix, so I'm going to overfarm to the Psychic Fangs and try to trap them into a Captai. Of course, my opponent's not going to do that. That would be a really dumb play. But we have a very hard answer with Diggersby, so we want to bring Diggersby right away here, make sure that the timer is not being super burnt here. We have the Scorchings, but we have to watch for a catch, make sure they don't swap out, and what do you know? I should have watched for that catch. I don't mind landing the Scorching Sands into the Dugong, though, because we have a little bit of residual energy on A-Slash, so if I can land this, honestly, we're in a pretty decent spot. I don't feel like shielding this move. I want to put everything on my Diggersby. My opponent doesn't know that yet, so they're actually going to bait with an Icy Wind, which is, I mean, honestly, that's like one of the best things they could have done. They bring in the Dusknoir, and I am going to shield this just so I can take out Dusknoir right away at this point. I mean, I know I am debuffed, but Dusknoir is pretty low already, and super effective Shadow Claws are going to do the trick here. So now it's Diggersby against the world, and yeah, this Steelix is not going to be able to do much against us, so that's a GG. On to the next battle here, we got a Drifblim in the lead. Very, very good lead for us, especially with Shadow Claw, but I guess Powder Snow would be the same. My opponent brings in Dugong, and once again, I mean, I have a lot of answers to this thing. A-Slash is one of them. I feel like they always bait here, so I'm never going to shield. My opponent baits, of course, so that's awesome. We can get to the next drill run on good timing, and I think at this point, I'm just going to tank the next move and bring in my Gator. If I can fully Shadow Claw this move, oh, I guess we're not tanking it, but if I can fully Shadow Claw them down, the game is over. And we can right before they get a move, so my opponent's just gonna give up there. Honestly, I don't blame them. That is a very, very hard thing to come back from, but yeah, GG's to them. All right, on to the last battle. We see Dugong in the lead, and honestly, I don't love this lead. I like it more as a safe swap, you know, so we're up a turn. And this Dugong's actually running Aqua Jet, so very, very weird moveset by my opponent. I'm guessing they're running Icy Wind Aqua Jet, which honestly is a cool moveset, but it's not going to cut it against A-Slash. We're able to catch another Aqua Jet and bank a bunch of energy. My opponent actually brings in a Typhlosion into my Feraligatr, so I just force them to throw an alignment here if they want to get their Thunder Punch off, and that way I get another Shadow Claw and severely outpace them to moves here. So we can do 2 in the move once again, and if my opponent wants to go down all of their shields, I'm completely fine with that. I was considering sniping here, but thankfully I didn't since my opponent threw right away. And at this point, I can just bring in Sandslash and knock them out. They actually catch on Dugong, which is a pretty good play, but I can just fully farm down this Dugong. We can shield this, it's totally fine. If Typhlosion comes back in, then I'm cool with that. I'm actually going to bring in Diggersby just to get a little bit of an energy lead here. I should be able to knock out with this Fire Punch before they get a move, but look at this Typhlosion, very high IV Shadow Typhlosion, I bet. Regardless, they just get to a Thunder Punch, so it doesn't really matter. And it's going to be a Claydol in the back, so good thing we actually saved our Ice Punch back there, because just landing the Scorching Sands is going to put them into Ice Punch range. We can do 1 Shadow Claw in the move for good timing because they don't have their move yet. And yeah, we're going to take that final game of the day. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Honestly, I had a lot of fun making it. I had a really, really bad first 2 sets. I believe I only won those first 2 games with with the regular Gator lead. Those were the only 2 games I won with that team. It was really, really stressful, but as soon as we swapped into A-Slash lead, everything started working out a lot better. So Yeah, very, very decent stuff. I will say this team is extremely, extremely weak to Pangoro lead. I really like the team. I really like the picks, but it has some very, very problematic Pokemon. Greninja, Pangoro, all these little guys, they can be really, really bad for this team. Regardless, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like down below. Please leave me any comments or feedback. If you think there's something I could do better for these videos, I would greatly appreciate that. As well, there is also a link down in the description below, so if you want to follow me on my socials, feel free to check that out. We stream on Twitch every single weekday. And yeah, other than that, I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Thank you so much, and bye bye.